Brake time today, brother. Today we're going to work on the brakes. We're going to go ahead and get these lines ran in the Model A. So we've got Edsel's outside cleaning up some rear backing plates that we're going to swap onto this 35 rear end. Then we're going to get our copper brake lines and we're going to start running lines. We've got the master cylinder already mounted in. You can see the master cylinder there. Pedals are kind of mocked up. We've got a couple little items here. I've got some brake tab mounts that I have cut out, and then I've got the pieces for the into the master cylinder with the line out and the pressure brake switch. And I got rubber lines. I got some more rubber lines up here on the motor for the front. We've got some pieces here that these are F1 pickup brake line tabs, and they mount like that. So we got to figure out where those are going to go today. That's the little adapter that goes in there. Actually, that goes right in there like that, and that gives you an in and an out for your brake lines for the front. That's a factory piece. Most of this stuff you can get these tabs new, and you can get all these little fittings, all that little fitting right there, and those all from 3rd Gen. So when you can get the rubber brake lines from 3rdgenauto.com, and they will fix you up. We're running a original 39 to 48 master cylinder, which is the 3-bolt style, and it's just got, let's see if we can get it in there, it's just got one outlet on the back. So that's why we need this. So this is, there's your banjo bolt that accepts the pressure switch in there. We'll use that one, and then we're going to use this little Y with the banjo. So this one is, I believe, 3940. I believe that's what year it is. It just has the 2 outlets. These are 1/4-inch outlets, so you're going to want to do those. The later F1 pickup style is a 3-hole, and it's 3/16 line. We're running 1/4-inch lines on this whole thing, all the way up and back. That's the factory setup for the brakes. So we're gonna run it just like it was, because we're gonna run the factory brakes front and rear. So we're not going to deviate. We're going to leave the system, and it works great like that. No problems. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up pulling the rear wheels off here, and we've got to pull those backing plates off this rear axle, then the drums, and we'll get that slicked off so we can start adding those backing plates on there that Edsel's cleaning up. Let's get it going. So put that down in the edge there. Get that one. There you go. Hold on to that before you pry. This is a hub puller I'm using. I got this one at a swap meet, I think, or eBay, one of the two. It says 1928 Ford on it, but it actually works all the way up to 48. So if you find one of these, it's good to grab. They work great. Fits right around the snout there on the brake drum, and then it has a little pin there that locates itself, and you can push it right off. You got to turn this a little bit. All right. So you got to back that nut out. Now you got to slip it on. You got to get that up inside that hole first, like that. And you want to locate that pin that's on that. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a pin right in there,
right.
And it locates it in there. So you do that, and you start tightening that up. There you go.
Right.
You want to hold on to that with one hand. There you go. It should pop it off. Yeah, you can see it coming off there.
Hammer?
Yeah, go ahead. Did you get the dust off? There you go. Don't mess up that spin. Yep. Cool.
All right. Got a rack. Stuff's not good for your skin.
Yeah, you won't die though, so you'll be alright. You're spraying it on the rag that you're holding, so you'll live. Okay, let's see if we can fit on there. Let go over that deal. Yeah, there you go. Just like that. Won't be using those. Let me see if mine will go on real quick. I'll help you. Yeah, mine bolts right on. Mine's good.
Mine is just that one spot right there.
Now that should go right on there. Little bit tight. Get those on there. Now you won't have any problems putting the later juice brake vacuum plates on the earlier axles because they're made exactly the same. So you can see Edsel there's putting the locking flat bolts in there.
That's right.
There you go. They're a super small one. Flat on the back, that way you don't have any problems with the hub getting in the way. Now we've got the grease cup that goes in here also, but we're going to leave it off for right now until we get ready for final assembly, because all this stuff will come apart and get, I'm doing this wrong while I'm talking. It'll all get cleaned up, blasted, and painted before it goes together for the last time. Now that we've got the rear backing plates on, we'll go ahead and mount up the rear wheel cylinders, and we can start figuring out where we're going to put the lines. So we're going to run a hard line off of the back of this wheel cylinder. It's going to come down and attach to this bone, and it'll run down to a splitter down here that will go into one for the rubber line. The rubber line's going to be there. We're going to put it probably something about like that right off of that torque tube with these two tabs I have.
Okay.
I was telling them that, not you.
Oh.
But you can listen too, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because you're learning. So what you have to do is you have to run both hard lines off of that, since it's all attached to this. I'm talking to you now.
Oh.
Since the hard lines and the brakes are all attached to the wishbones here, you can just run hard lines all the way up. Where, like in the front, you would run a rubber line over from the frame over to your wheel. These will all run together and run up to here to one single rubber line, like this. So then your pivot point is there on your rear end. See, and that'll give you the give there that you need with that little rubber line. All right, we got the backing plates on here. We've went ahead and installed the wheel cylinder on both sides. That way we can get this mocked up. We're going to start with these hard lines here. We're going to start with this. This is nickel copper brake line tube. I bought this on eBay for $10.34 shipped. I gotta try it. Mike used some on his 35 and he said he loved the stuff. He wouldn't go with anything else because it was real easy to bend and all that. So we're gonna try it today. And we're gonna start off with the first fitting being this driver's side rear. Open up these ends here. These came with all the 1/4-inch ends you would ever need. Look at that. So we should be good to go on all our fittings, all our ends, and we should have everything. We should be able to get this all set up today. We'll just start with one end. Went ahead and just flared that with my tool. Show you my tool I'm using for that here in just a little bit. So we're just going to start right here. We're going to come right off of this, the back side of this wheel cylinder, and go out and straight down and go right down the bone. It's going to be a lot of back and forths and putting it on and taking it off, so we should be able to get it knocked out here pretty quick. This is pretty simple stuff. It's not real hard. I usually just use my Sharpie. I'm going to mark the back line, the back side of what, if I'm going to curve it down, I'll mark the top like that, and I'll put it right where it's going to clear whatever I'm going around. So I put my mark here on the edge of that, and then as I pull it around, it pulls it out just a little bit. It's pretty simple. Sometimes you can use a piece of wire to go ahead and set up the shape you want, and then take the wire and bend your line like you want it. There we go. Looks like we're looking pretty good. Yeah. We're going to bend that. Okay, so. Get that bent back around there. Okay, we are going for it. One thing I do need to do is I need to put my center T up there. I need to go ahead and get that mounted back in there. Right, that's back in there now. This little kit comes with a little bitty tiny pipe cutter, so we use that to get this thing up in here. I'm gonna end up probably cutting a little bit longer than what I need. That way it'll be a little easier to work with. Right there. Now this little pipe cutter came with brake flaring tool that I'll show you guys here in a minute. You've probably seen me post one before. I borrowed, Mike had one he bought from Jags. Really nice flaring kit. It's a couple $100, but it makes the job so much easier. Alright, so you can see I just ran straight out, over and down, and then this is going to follow this bone, and we're going to end up with a couple of little brake line tabs. We'll mount right here on the inside of this bone. We'll mount 2 of those that'll hold them in. We need to mark and flare this in so we can get it right there in that T that you guys can't see. We'll take that out real quick and we'll bend that around and get it. Okay. And we'll do that right there. Clamp that sucker down. That'll be good to go. Let's mark that. Now we can put a flare on that thing. And that'll be the first brake line done. We're ready to go. Almost done with the rear, guys. Little by little, even got some 1/4-inch line clamps to put on there, so that'll hold it on there good and solid. Just using some cheap little 1024 Allen head stainless, and then a stainless 1/4-inch clamp. Tap right there. Cut fluid on it. Put a little bit of anti-seize on there since they're stainless. Not much, but a little bit. Otherwise it'll be everywhere, looking like a tin man. It don't take long. There we go. Rear lines are done. Almost. Alright, so you can see got that copper line screwed into that new. We had one new one, we were missing one, so we used an old one on that side, but we got it just coming straight down and going right down the bone. Right up here to the T. Then we'll bring one out of here and come up and down to a this tab right here. We're going to end up having that tab right there on the side, just like that. So that'll make it a little bit easy to get to. So we'll need to make a short line for that to come up to there. But I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and weld that tab on there first, get it kind of set up where I want it at, and then I can make that short line, no problem. We'll just do a little S curve in it, go right into it, so it'll be simple. That side's on and done. A little wave to it right there. See it now. But that looks good. It goes up, mounts into the back of the backing plate, so we're good to go. That one looks like it. That was kind of tilted out, now it's kind of tilted down, so, but no big deal. You'll never see them when we get the body on there, and they're not going to look symmetrical unless you get some from like Dennis Lacey. He does really nice brake lines, and I don't know what they run, but I'm okay with doing this right here. I'm fine with that, so I'll just keep doing the way I'm doing it, and they work fine. They work fine on the panel, and they work fine on the Tom Sellers coupe, so this will keep going. Factory brake line, that's a rear 3948, somewhere around there. Got that from 3rd Gen. So we're gonna mount this tab right under here, right under this cross member, right there on the side of that. I'll give it plenty of room. Oh, that's good. Perfect. Now we can let that cool. We can get that line put in there and make that short line. We'll need a really short one for. So you guys know, I don't know if I showed you that very closely, but you've got the banjo bolt, and this banjo bolt accepts a pressure switch, and then you've got the little Y adapter for the banjo. There's supposed to be copper washers in there, but I don't have them yet, so mock-up stage. That feeds right into the end of that 44th master. And it's a little tighter than I wanted. Should have dropped it down a little bit more. And I may go ahead and do that. I may just cut that off and move it down a little bit. I can flatten it back out. And a little further back, I guess, probably. Could move it back, and that'll give me some more space on there. I think I'll do that. I'll cut that thing off real quick. Now we've got to see if we can save that one. I think I can. There we go. We got it. Now I'm just going to hammer it flat real quick on the vise. Okay, I'm happy with that. Yep, that was good. Alright, spot that on there. Alright, I'm happy with that. Let that cool. And we can put that hose back on there. Here's the little machine I'm using. It's pretty cool. Let's see if I can get it loose here so you can see what all is involved here. It's just a little clamp in type flaring machine, and I just clamp it right here in my vise. That way it's nice and solid. Here's the little flaring tool that I use. I actually got this at Vevor, and it's a little clamp. It just clamps in the vise. You've got several different little dies here that fit down inside there. I'm using the 45 degree on the 1/4 inch side. There's a 37 and a 45. I'm using the 45. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but that's the one I'm using. But this is a little machine, and it's got all different settings. It does 1/4 inch, 3/16, and 3/8 inch, and 5/16. So boop, it just goes like that. So let's go. Let's get this done here. Show you what it does. So you put your nut on there, obviously, first. Run your line up through there. There's one setting on here that's flush. You see it right there on my right. So we're just going to turn it right around to that one. We'll pull that, and that line, what that does is that lines that tube up with the end of that block. There we go. And you can barely see it right there sticking out, so we're just going to tighten that up a little bit. And it's got, you can see it says operation 1 and then 1/4 inch, and then the orange is operation 2 and that's 1/4 inch and 3/16. So what we do is we pull that, line it up, flip it over to operation 1, 1/4 inch, and that's going to flare that. And that's going to flare that in. Then you go to operation 2, 1/4 inch, and there you go. You've just flared it. That's all it took. That's a lot easier than, you can see it right there. That's a lot easier than that little tool that you can get from O'Reilly's. And this thing works. You don't have to fumble with it. You do it and it's done. It's just 3 operations. It's flat to line it up, and then you do your first operation, boom, and then you do your second operation, boom, and it's all on here, color coded, and tells you right which one to do. That's it. It's super simple, guys. I got this at Vevor. It was right around $100 shipped. I can't beat it. Mike bought his at, I think, Jegs, and it was around $200 at the time. So they've come down in price, or somebody else in China has copied them some more. But I grabbed this one for, I think it was $95. And then you get the line. This line on eBay was $10.34 for 25 foot with all the fittings. So it's got some extra fittings that I won't use, but it's got plenty of the 1/4 inch fittings that I'm going to use on this car. So it's got plenty of them. I've got 1 on here and a handful more, and I've got 4 on the car already. There you go. We got this little line right here to make. So I'm just going to come right out of the back of that T, if you can see it right there, and do a direct 90 and come up here. Sharpie time. And I'm just going to line up that right there with my mark. Okay. This is going to be a pretty tight little S bend here. I think it'll work perfectly. So, if you can see that, let's see, that mark right there is lined up exactly with that hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bending back here and bend this around until that line lines back up with that hole as it comes out. I got to pull that off to the side there a little bit. So see, I'm going to line it up there. See, my black mark there is lined up with the end down there. So that's as far as it's going to go. So we'll keep that lined up there. If I can do it. It's hard to do it like this, but yeah, there we go. Let's see if that worked. Now, the good thing is with this stuff, I can bend it around, straighten it up all I need to. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and mark this and cut it off a little long. There we go. Yeah. That way, I can work with just this piece instead of this big long roll. There we go. We can move that over there. That over there. Now we can work with that. I think that right there is going to work perfectly. Yeah. Get that. Flared about right in there. Easy peasy. I'm gonna go get that flared on my mark. We'll be good to go. You just can't beat that, man. That's just too easy. It's just too easy with that machine. Now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get it in there. Should have take that off real quick. Make sure we ain't rubbing on nothing. Nice and straight. There we go. Y'all, that is ready to go. We just need one more to hook up to that master cylinder and we're good to go. You can see it. We got it hooked up right there. We put that little tab down there. And we've got that little T down there is connected. That's a factory piece. That's the brake line T holder. It's kind of a horseshoe shape and fits in your wishbone bolt there. Clamps in with that. So that thing's good to go. All the rear lines are done except for the master cylinder one right there we need to do. We'll do that. I think I'm gonna take the rest of the day off. It's getting pretty hot in here. I'm not sure how exactly hot it is, but we got that one going pretty good. All we need now is the front ones, and we'll get the brake line tabs mounted up. We'll get some more brake lines made for the front and get those rubber lines hooked up temporarily so we can get it all lined out. So what is it, about 98, 99? Yeah. So it's hot in here. Even though it's probably not that hot outside, it's hot inside because I've got all the daggum sheet metal. Anyway, I think we'll take the rest of the day off and we'll come back and get a fresh start tomorrow morning and knock out the front. We'll get these knocked out right down here, and we'll get the rubber lines put in, get the wheel cylinders dropped in there. That way we can keep moving forward. So guys, it's pretty close. We're getting there. Pedals are mounted. Yeah, looking good. All right. See you tomorrow. Ended up having to drill out this cross member for our brake line. I did both sides here. That's going to allow my brake line to come up from the master cylinder here, up through the hole and down the frame rail. And I can run my fuel line down through here in the same hole. And we'll wrap it with something to protect it. But we'll also have some fuel line clamps holding it to the frame rail so it won't ever get into that edge of that hole. Now you can see right here is my splitter coming off the back of the master cylinder, and we're going to come up and go right down through that hole right through there and right down the frame rail. This is probably going to be the more difficult brake line to get in there because we're going to have to go through that hole, then that hole, and then snake it over to the adapter there. See if it'll go in there. Oh yeah, that's not bad. We'll turn that down. Yeah, that'll work. Cool. There we go. Go down there where we need it. Get this, hold it up. This will be easier when I get it connected here. Then I can figure out where my brake tab is going to go here on the frame rail, and I can cut it accordingly to work with that. All right, that's laid in there. Now, so we've got this little. This is a F1. I'll show you a little close up here. This is a F1 style front brake line mount. It mounts on the frame rail just right off the side like that. You have a hole for the bolt, then you have another hole for that to line that up, just to hold it, keep it from doing that. So here's where we're going to put it at. We got to make sure we have enough room for the hole, for the bolt, and enough room, and it's pretty narrow right in here. It's going to get pretty tight, so it's going to get pretty tight right here. We'll have to try to center it as best we can. Keep it low. But this little bracket right here holds this little splitter tee with the banjo bolt in it. So you can see that little banjo bolt right there goes right through it. And this is the end of an old brake line. You can see it. It goes right in that hole there. Actually, other way around. It goes like that, and then that banjo bolt fits into it. And that mounts. It gives you your mount for your rubber line, and then it gives you your in from your master cylinder, which is the one we're making right now. And then we'll take the other one out and go to the other side, over to the passenger side. So it makes it pretty handy, pretty easy. And you can get all these parts from 3rd gen. Every one of those pieces right there, right directly from 3rd gen. And I've got new lines for it, but I'm using that old one because it's a little bit easier to deal with. Actually, flip you over to this side, because we do need to check this all the way locked. And that might have a hard time right there. Actually, that would be better. Right inside there. Yeah. Okay. Change of plans here. So I'm going to move my line. I've moved it an inch back. I'm going to move it an inch forward. That's going to give me a little bit more length on it. So let's eliminate that. And let's mark an inch forward from there. I'm going to put a piece of tape on there and we'll mark it all over again. I'll let you guys see it a little closer. It'll work like a champ right there. Now this tie rod is on top of my spindle, so it's actually going to be quite a bit lower. It'll be closer down here, so it'll be out of the way. There we go. In there. Rubber line will work. Perfect. Now we can figure out where to cut this off. We're going to have to come down the inside of this frame rail, come outside and over this bottom lip of the frame rail, and then come into here. And miss the motor mount while we're at it. Just like that. And then we'll have to pull it. Put a little dog leg in there. One more little Oh. That's done, man. You can't beat that little tool. That thing works like a champ. We're going to put it right at the end, so we're going to put that fitting right under there. As close as we can. Let's see if we can get it here. Hard to do holding it. There we go. So yeah, looks like we're making a steel or something. Let's see how that works. Man, I think that's going to be just right. Okay. Just put it in there real quick. One thing now we have to remember is steering box is going in right here. So that line's going to have to probably going to have to shuck and jive a little bit to get around that steering box flange. And we may end up knocking the bottom corner off of that steering box flange. That way it can sit down in there. Just got to make sure we got plenty of room for it, which we got plenty of room to get it in there. So even if we have to come down and jog it out a little bit and back in, we got room in that little horseshoe there. We got room to pull it out. We can pull it and do a little jog on that, so we're good to go. That one's hooked up. That one's hooked up. We got one more left to do. Let's go flip over to the other side. We'll mark that, drill it out, put the other bracket on. Now this side will go, the brake line will go directly into the line there. That's in there. That'll go there. We're almost there. We need to make another line. One more line to bend. That'll be easy. We'll put a couple of holders on it down here underneath this. So we'll have to drill that out in order to get it, because we want it to suck up there right up against that cross member. That way nothing gets hung up in there, doesn't get in the way, doesn't rub on anything, and we'll get her made right there. Let's do that. Show you guys how I like to straighten this tubing out. It ends up working out if you just push it against your stomach, because your stomach has a little give if you like tacos like I do. So it's not a hard surface, obviously, so we can roll this out and get it pretty straight. Sometimes you just have to grab it with your hands and straighten her out, but that's how you like to do it right there. That's how I learned to do it, because it seemed like it worked, and I can focus the pressure where it needs to be, and you can just give it a little bit at a time and get it relatively straight. I mean, that's pretty straight. It's a little wavy, but I mean, crap, it's been on a roll. What do you expect? So you can fine tune a little bit with your hands if you wanted to, but for the most part, I mean, nobody's going to see it once it's mounted up underneath there. We'll get this end on here. We'll go ahead and flare that end, and we'll put a 90 on that and come right over and go right down that cross member there. I'm going to go ahead and do another tight 90, because we're only like 1.5 inches off of that cross member, and I'm going to go right down that tray of that cross member and then come right out there. We'll do a 90 and another 90 right into that other brake line there. So we'll just do it just like we did before and put that fitting right there underneath that stop on there. Do that 90. Here we go. And that should work good over there. We're just going to have to form this to fit this tray here, because we want it to come out over and then down underneath that tray, and then back up and then out and back over. Do a little S curve on that end. Need to make sure we leave enough room to turn 90 and then another 90 and back in. You can see how it comes out of that mount over there and just follows it right around. So that's how we want it to be nice and tight there. Had to straighten that last bend out in order to get it flared. So we got her. That's a little last bend. Let's get her in there. There you go. Brake lines are done, guys. All we're waiting on is a couple of clips to hold these rubber lines in on these mounts, both sides. We got another wheel cylinder coming. We got new ones coming for this, and we'll be good to go. That's the other one. There's no residual valves, no proportioning valves, none of that stuff is needed because this is all lined up, one plane, so you're good to go. Don't need all that fancy stuff and all that purple stuff from Speedway. We're just going to do it just like old school 44 stuff. So that's all we got to do. There you go. That's how you do brake lines right there. Knock them out. That's the line we bought. That's what we've got left over. That was a scrap right there, which wasn't too bad at all, if I do say so myself. It's done. It's ready to bleed, technically speaking, but we have a little bit more work to do. We've still got a couple more line clamps to put on there. I'll do those, or I'll have Edsel do them for me, because we have to drill them and tap them to get them in there. But it's pretty much just done. That's it, man. That's all you got to do. We just kept it the same as the 40 Ford would have been from the factory. 1/4-inch lines, the 40 Ford wheel cylinders, rubber lines, and master cylinder. We kept all that exactly the same. We shouldn't have any problems with the brake lines at all. The last 2 cars I built, I did the exact same thing, and the 40 Ford Master and lines and wheel cylinders work like a champ. It's just meant to go together. That's why I'm sticking to the same layout with the 40 Ford stuff or 39 Ford stuff. It's exactly the same. We got a few other parts left to pick up once our order comes in that we made today. So we've got one more wheel cylinder. We've got the rubber line over there on the bench, and we've got the hard line there. We'll put 2 more line clamps right there. That line's ready to go. You can see I left that one just kind of hanging there, but the line just runs right down the inside of the frame rail there. Let's see if we can get this. It's right through that hole, and right into that little T. And then the bottom one comes out. Let's see if we can show it. It makes a U-turn. It's kind of hard to see. Makes a U-turn and goes right into that rubber line right there. So there you go. Runs right over to that T and then splits out and goes to both wheel cylinders. So converting these this 35 axle to juice brakes is not a problem at all. Pull off the old backing plate, put on a juice brake backing plate, and that's pretty much it. Now we've got 46 to 48 drums on there now. So there you go, guys. You got it. That's how you do it. Have any questions? Leave a comment. Like, share, and subscribe. We're going to keep moving on this. Keep doing some stuff. We're going to wrap up the chassis, get all that knocked out, flip it over, weld up the F1 trans mount. We're going to drill a hole for the F1 column. We'll get that ready to go. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop the body back on there now and get some stuff cut on it so that we can mount it down and miss the rear springs back there with the subframe since we kicked it up. But it's full steam ahead. So we're going to keep going. Like, share, and subscribe. Check you guys later. Thanks.